Hi everyone, how you going? I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. I know I am, and today and for most of this week, I'm going to be concentrating on different parts of what I've written on the board behind me, where it comes to self-investment, and it basically is the level that you invest in yourself is the level of which you're going to be able to overcome your anxieties, your fears, your traumas, your worries, and those types of things. And I don't just mean monetarily, I mean time. I mean actually dedicating yourself to a task of learning something that you wish to learn so that it increases your self confidence. So, for example, if you want to learn basketball, then you're dedicating a portion of your time to learn how to play basketball. Or in my particular case, where I made myself a promise on the 1st of December to really get a handle on the freestyle because I've always wanted to and I never made the time. So this time I dedicated a couple of hours every day or every other day, right, whenever I could fit in my schedule, right, to actually practice and practice and practice. And now when I go into the pool, I now do a kilometer of swimming freestyle, and I'm doing better and better and better. And I've worked out finally that that part that I really struggled with, which was uh, the breathing part in between. I used to choke all the time, and I've worked out finally. I've taught my body how to do the breathing techniques almost properly so that at least I can sustain my laps a lot easier. And now I'm catching my breath at the end of each lap a lot easier. So soon as I progress and progress even more, by the end of February when they close the pool, I'm hoping that I'll be able to do the laps back and forth without having to pause as often. All right, so I can actually, and I've already learned how to do that thing where you spin around at the end. I don't know what that's called, but like, I wouldn't have gone and done the extra progress and given myself the extra self confidence boost if I just didn't dedicate that extra time in and well also the membership. I made it easier for myself to dedicate that time by paying for my own membership for the entire season. So when I go there, I don't have to worry about transferring cash or anything like that. I can just go say hello to the guys there and swim, right? So all these things I made easier, and like because we always keep up with the washing and everything, there's always a towel handy, so that's easy. Um, so so these are like little ways that you can invest in yourself in mostly just time, in just setting that time aside to learn something new that adds to your self confidence. And as you add to your self confidence, your anxieties dissipate a lot more because you know you're doing something extra. All right. I mean, I'm always doing something extra, but the swimming part is a really good example of something extra that doesn't actually relate to my coaching hardly at all. You know, except for the fact that I've also used it as a additional exercise to help me lose the weight that I put on trying to learn the marketing thing all last year. And yeah, so self investment is to do with time and resources, and it's also to do with choosing self care so that you can serve others better. Okay? If you're in this group and you've progressed this far through a lot of the live videos and the materials and everything in here, then you would know by now that I'm trying to get 3,000 people to a $3 million type home, a $10 million type liquid cash lifestyle, and the health and relationships to support that within the next 3 to 10 years. All right, those results are going to vary from each person to person because not every single person is going to have the same level of ambition. People around the world also have a different scale as to what that looks like. A $3 million home in New York is not nearly the same as a $3 million home in the middle of nowhere. All right, there are different scales of different things. It's another reason why I don't give a fuck about testimonials, is because the people I help get results that are custom to them. Okay? It goes through a lot of the same processes where you overcome anxieties, you overcome fears, and you overcome traumas, but the results at the end of it look very different for each person, you know? And so I prefer to make sure that I know that I'm serving the best way I can. It just means I have to do more and more efforts at the front end to make it so that people can understand what I'm trying to achieve. Right. So, that being said, uh, to aim for the $3 million type home and the $10 million type lifestyle, liquid cash lifestyle with the health and relationships to support it, which means you're growing your health, you're growing your self care, and you're growing your communication abilities to build your relationships to support yourself in that journey. Well, that is all going to make you a leader. All right. And it is also leadership is a very self-care, growth-centric activity. And what I mean by that is if you can't motivate yourself, you're going to be pretty much shit out of luck, and you're going to have to settle for whatever anyone else plans for you, okay? And that's the thing. If you would like these types of things, no one's just going to give it to you. Even if you were to win a cross lotto or one of those fucking house lottery ticket things that they do, right? Even if you get that, does not mean you're going to keep it. All right, because even in those lotteries where you can win like a $10 million fucking house or whatever, right? A lot of the people that win that still don't get to keep it because they don't take into account the upkeep. You have council fees, you have different water rates, and all these other premium charges that you don't usually get in a standard suburban house. All right, they are all charged at the premium rate because you're moving into a premium area, right? And they make it so that if you move into that place, they assume you can afford that type of place, which not many people can unless they do the actual work required first. Which is why I say fuck off with the cross lotto type stuff. You need to actually build the things along the way. You progress from step to step to step. Yes, it takes longer, but you get to keep it once you get it if you do it the right way, like if you do it the really well way of growing along the way, right? Because if you just grow wealth, which is what I tried to do 10 years ago, 13 years ago, etc., right? If you just grow wealth, then your health will fuck you up. If you only grow wealth and your health doesn't fuck you up, something in your relationship will, or the relationships around you in your social circle will fuck you up, okay? And you had to start again from scratch. So, from the mentors that I have worked out to correct my mistakes, taking full ownership of all the things I did wrong, including the things that weren't necessarily done by me, but are still, if I take it down as my responsibility because I put choices in the path to come across those circumstances, taking extreme ownership, even though I've got it at the bottom here, is basically the very first thing you need to know to get all the rest of this done. Okay? The attitude of poor me, this happened, this person did this, that person did this, their fault, that doesn't do anything. And it just sets you up for resentment, hurt, anger, mental health problems, and that leads to bad habits, and the bad habits lead to health problems, and then all of a sudden you're fucked in every single way. Okay? So, blaming others, it's this person's fault, that person's fault, doesn't work. Alright? It's going to keep you exactly where you are. And it means, and if you're going to blame other people for whatever, then none of this is going to be useful to you whatsoever, and you might as well just stop watching the video right now. Okay? However, for those that are ready for the new type of lifestyle that will sustain the things that you would love to do, where you can go to a restaurant without having to look at the price, where you can just choose from what you'd like to have rather than choosing what you can afford to have. Alright? Where you can go on a holiday and not have to worry about the bills and shit left at home, right? Where you can choose whether or not you take a holiday, whether or not you work in your business all the time, or you work out other ways of managing things, or if you do the property route, you can work out how to put property managers in place so that you can enjoy particular parts of your lifestyle, right? Or if you'd like to grow past the 3 and 10 because you're more ambitious than that, well, these are the things that gives you the great baseline so that so even if you aim for that just as a stepping stone, you'll know what to expect. First of all, the larger the goal, the longer time frame you have to be patient with yourself. Okay? And that's why I say mapping our decade, right? Because the 21 day, like for people to aim for something to do within 21 days, whilst all things are possible, only the smaller goals are attainable at the 21 days. So, and same with the 90 days. Okay, especially when you're trying to build health, wealth, and relationships simultaneously. Okay, and the more time you invest at the front end means the more patient you can be further down the track. So, with my own programs, for example, I will help you put structures and systems and plans in place for your longer term goals to work on when you're not working on the problems up front. So, if you're having a lot of anxieties, you're having a lot of problems getting past mindset blocks, getting past trauma concepts, or past hurts in those regards, they are all valid, but you no longer have to stay stuck with them for the rest of your life. There is a process that we can go through that I take you through one by one to make it so that you can discharge the feeling and the attachment to those traumas and those anxieties so that you can make more progress one day at a time, one day after the other, right? So that's what happens in the 21 to 90 days, is that you are in the process of discharging the anxieties, but first we have to understand more about who you are, what you actually want in life, and reveal things as we unpeel all that and stuff, but putting actions in place to repair them as we go, right? So in the first 3 weeks, it's mostly tips and tricks and hints as to how things are going to progress and unraveling more of who you are along the way so that we can plan for your strengths and plan for your weaknesses and actually make both like a really firm give you the capabilities to manage both. All right? So it's no longer a case of I can't do this because of that. No, this is exactly how you learn that in the easiest, smoothest way so that that's no longer an issue. All right? In the meantime, we'll work out where your blocks are and you start seeing results between the 21 and the 90 days. But again, like I was saying earlier, everyone's results are custom to the person, right? It might be that one person has the priority of repairing their health first, right? Like as their physical health. Well, if that's the case, then we need to work out what anxieties are causing a particular food habit that is making you want to eat a particular thing so that you can start recognizing also what is actually healthy to eat. Okay? Versus what the TV's been telling people and whatever, and what the package tells people. Okay? And getting people to understand that preservatives are not for them. They are there to make the food look prettier on the shelf for longer. Right? These are all things we would tackle if someone's priority was to get their health on track easier from the word go. Now, if someone's having problems with relationship to their self, which is more anxiety related problems and trauma related problems, then we'll do that first. So that you can get some good wins, get some good night's sleep every now and again to begin starting building the habit of getting great sleep. Right? Which will also be food related as well in many cases. But tackling that, then it might be a thing of your relationship was really causing a lot of stress and tension, and that's spreading into your business life or your work life. We might tackle that first. These are types of things and stuff that I would help solve for people in the first 21 to 90 days. But making a plan for the decade as we progress, right? Starting off small with what can we get done in 12 months and 3 years, right? Start looking at those types of ideas, right? And quite frankly, the $3 million home and $10 million top liquid cash lifestyle can be done in the 3 years, but if you've really, really struggled previously to understand how all that works, it might take 5 years, right? It might take you the full 10 years if you're not in a rush to do it. If you are addicted to a comfort zone of living, right, then it's going to take you probably the 10 years to get to that level, right? Whereas if your entire life has been uncomfortable to this point, then stepping into the uncomfortable things that you need to do in order to get to these things won't be that much of a challenge as much for you. This is where people that earn less than 100 grand per year when they start actually do better straight off the bat. Whereas someone at 200 grand or 300 grand actually takes longer through this process because they already have this comfort and they struggle to break some of the bad habits that they need to let themselves become uncomfortable to learn what they need to learn over here. Alright? So, if you're trying to change, so if your entire family history has been always broke and full of drama, then this is also going to be more challenging for you as well. So, but these are things you need to take into account to have patience with a sense of urgency, but measure how much effort you can actually dedicate on a sustainable way to get these things done. Right? And it all ties back in to how much you invest in yourself. And as I said, not talking just dollars, I'm talking about time as well. Okay? So if you are investing a couple of hours of your time into the TV, well, that is a loss. Okay? What you'd call a shit investment. And this is why I say if you put, if you buy a TV at 5 grand, right, then in the first couple of years of watching that, it's cost you at least 5 million in other opportunities and stuff just by having a TV turned onto the crap that they put on there. All the things that I've done would have taken at least another 10 years longer if I hadn't got rid of the TV when I did, around 12, 13 years ago. So, in order to invest in yourself, let's go with the basics, right? You need to know how to lead yourself. This is where, again, the list of 100 comes in handy because we achieve better results with a carrot, not a stick. We achieve faster results with the stick, but they don't stay with us very long, which is why we need to really put some really good energy into the list of 100. The 100 ideal health versus where you'd like to be, ideal wealth where you are versus where you'd like to be, and ideal relationships as to where they are now versus where you'd like them to be, including your romantic relationships, your relationships with your friends, relationships with yourself, right? How you talk to yourself. Some of us really talk to ourselves worse than we would ever talk to any other stranger. Right? Some of us talk to ourselves worse than what we do to our enemies, right? I know I have. I've talked to myself in the past in ways that I would never even talk to the mother-in-law at, and she's horrible, So these things have to be repaired along the way, and a lot of the time it's best to lead ourselves out of it. Now, to lead ourselves out of those habits, we need something to aim for, to give the dopamine hits, the serotonin hits along the way, to say that we are making progress along this result. Okay? Along the way to this result. So, to lead ourselves, we need something to aim for. And with the list of 100, when you actually fill those lists out, and the list of 100 experiences you'd like to have in this lifetime, when you start filling those lists out, you'll find that there's probably about 20 to 30 of them that you could really easily achieve this year, right? And those are the things you'll be focusing on between here and here, right? Between the 90 days and the 12 months, right? And it doesn't matter if you don't finish all of them. The point isn't up to tick some of them off, right? If you put them on a closer time scale, then you can tick some of these ones that you've always wanted to do off earlier, and that gives you the confidence boost to say, well, if I can do those, then I can achieve the rest of my list as well. And you start working out how to fill out the rest of your decade. Okay? So leading yourself, if you can't lead yourself, you won't be able to lead a team, and you'll need that later on if you don't already have one. Okay? If you've got a team that's acting all fucked up and annoying and drama every time they walk in the door, right? Then they are responding most likely to the fact that in their eyes you're not leading yourself very well. Okay? Because if you can't lead yourself very well, then your team will reflect that. Okay? And I'm talking, like, as I said, with the drama, but also with disrespect, right? If you're disrespecting yourself, your team will most likely disrespect you. Okay? You'll find disrespect in your relationships. You'll find disrespect in your network if you're disrespecting yourself. Okay? And these are the things we need to find out in those first 21 days especially, right? Because when we find those out in the first 21 days, then we can create these little tricks and tips and strategies to begin dealing with them, right? And there is a process. It starts off with just identifying what they are and where they're manifesting, and then giving you the ability to really simplify the process of dealing with yourself and the process and the person you're involving yourself with. And then as that works, the longer term strategies can be put in place and teaching you how to have the difficult conversations that you need to have, right, along the way. And that will show your team that you are there, you're showing up to lead the team. You need to have those difficult conversations once you've had the difficult conversation with yourself first, right? But if you haven't worked out exactly what you're leading yourself towards and leading your team towards, then that won't work yet, which again gets the list as a priority. Right. That also leads to the standards, right? You get what you tolerate. So if people are coming to you and basically creating stress, then, and this is on a regular basis, then you are getting what you tolerate, and you need to raise your standards, which means you need to raise your standards for yourself and improve the skills you have in leading yourself, and then also improving the skills in communication, right? And this all leads towards becoming your best self, right? And doing the growth that you need to do, okay? And you're not always going to know the growth you need to do. Sometimes, like I've said before, the universe has a really funny sense of humor where when you're going to put your jumper on the first thing in the morning, you accidentally punch yourself in the nose, right? That's your wake-up call to say these things need to change, right? Usually comes with some sort of health crisis or a relationship crisis, or some other type of drama. Sometimes something might happen at work where there's all this fucking drama at work, and that's the crisis you need to take. These are warning signs, right? That you need to step back and say, well, how am I not leading myself? How am I not being accountable? How am I not communicating effectively? How am I not respecting myself? Okay? These are the types of things we need to powerfully go through, bit by bit by bit. And as I said, there's a process. Once you can identify the actual things that are happening and actually identify it correctly, right? Because a lot of the times the first answers, the first 2 or 3 answers are not always the most accurate ones. Usually we have to go 7 levels deep of asking, okay, why? And why? And like do that 7 levels deep, and you'll usually find the exact anxiety or trauma point or the mindset block that you need to twist and adjust so that you can get the better results that you need. Alright? Keeping in mind, a lot of these things are adjustments, they're attunements, they're refinements, right? And it just requires the right tools to do those adjustments. Next, as you start doing the extra self-leadership, the extra raising your standards, the extra extreme ownership and accountability, as you do that, your vision of what you'd like to achieve in the future should become clearer and clearer and clearer, and you should be able to translate to the people around you in your life, all of them, any of them, as to these are the things I would like to achieve in this lifetime. So for my example, it's the coaching program that's relevant to you guys. I would like to help 3,000 people in the next 3 to 10 years get to a $3 million type home, $10 million type liquid cash lifestyle with the health and relationships and the social circle to support that. Okay, it's a clear vision as to why I'm doing it. Now, an addendum to that, my longer term vision for this, like the mid-range part of the vision, right, between 5 and 20 years, is to make it so that those ones that don't plan much higher than that will start to get used to the lifestyle that I'm helping them create, so much so that they'd actually like to do a little bit more challenging things because they've learnt and they've grown so much doing these first things that they may approach me and say, look, I would like to work for you, Sean, to be one of your CEOs, or maybe be groomed towards this type of project or that, right? So that's an addendum, so next level vision that I see as a potential for the coaching programs that I'm creating. But again, that's quite specific. I know exactly what I mean for that, and I'm translating it as best as you guys can understand at the levels that you are at the moment. Right? As I open up the pioneer levels of coaching and the adventure levels of coaching more, I will reveal more of what the longer term vision is. Okay? And then that leads into building on your communication. You need to know all the different love languages that there are in communication, not just for your relationships, but so that you can understand any person that you may need to network with along the way, because you'll find that even in business and professional relationships and interactions, they will communicate in their best love language. And if you communicate to them in theirs and you understand them, they're just going to feel so attached to you that they want to do the deals with you. Okay? Which is leading me to the idea, like to what one of my clients was saying the other day. Well, how do you attract the right investors? How do you attract the right business partners? Well, the way you do that is to become the right business partner, to become the right leader, to become the right person that they would like to invest with. Right? So if you can understand yourself better than anyone else, then you have a higher chance of understanding others. And if you add all the love languages included to that, then you're going to build business relationships that are ready to go whenever you need them. All right? So for example, for our Stool property development project, I have my investors sitting there in the sidelines, ready for me to call on them if I need to. All right? They are ready. I can have private agreements, contracts drawn up, and most likely the funds available to use as I need within the next 2 weeks if I so need, because I've built those relationships, I've built that network, and they feel like they're part of my projects because I communicate in the language that they prefer. Okay? And most of it's action-based, because if you aren't like doing the things that follow on from who you're trying to be, like when so each one of the people in my network, for example, every single one of them knows that I do not care about distance, right? If I have to drive 10 hours to go meet someone for a coffee meeting and just talk about building the business relationship, however that unfolds, and it's just a couple of hours meeting, and I go there drive for 10 hours to do that, and drive back, they know that I will do that. So I think it was not last year, the year before, right? We made a commitment to go and meet some people in our property development network in 2021. Yeah, and originally there was three people in Melbourne that we were going to meet up with, and then there was another five or six in Sydney that we were also going to meet up with, and we worked it out that if we went to Melbourne and then direct to Sydney, it was actually less kilometres than going to Melbourne, coming home, having a couple of nights break, and then going off to Sydney. It was actually less kilometres to go direct. So a funny thing happened where two of them had to reschedule in the Melbourne part of the trip, leaving one of those contacts in the Melbourne trip um, to to meet up with, and and that opened up a space for more people in Sydney for us to meet up with. So what we did is the Monday we drove down to Melbourne, and we met up with a beautiful couple in the property development space who we're still in contact with now. That's now moved into Brisbane area, right? And we had dinner with them from 6:30 to about 8:30, and they were like, "Oh, where are you staying tonight?" I said, "No, we're not staying anywhere tonight. We're driving straight from here to Sydney to meet up with another person in the property development space." And the lunchtime, it was a lunchtime appointment. That was the only one we could meet that person at, which we did. And we drove through the night from Melbourne to Sydney, and slept in the car for about an hour and a half, and got to that 12:30 lunchtime appointment with about 3 minutes to spare. And then had a great lunch, and then spent a couple of hours with her, and then we went to find the hotel that we'd booked. Right? So people know in our property development space, there's just one part of that example, right? That we go wherever we need to go. Our actions say, when we are saying we're doing something, we do it. And we spent a great week. That was the best holiday Kelly and I actually have had, and fit networking with potential business partners, property developers, and the people that rescheduled us from Melbourne actually turned up in Sydney. So we still managed to catch up with them on the Friday of that trip, and we drove back on the Sunday, right? So people in our network and stuff that are still following and still participating with me and still messaging and still keeping in touch, right? Because they know as we do things that we show up and we get it done. It might take us a little bit longer sometimes to get things done, but we get it done. And they also know that these qualities and stuff, amongst others, are just, not all that common. And that's what Kelly and I really love, is the fact that we are weird, we are uncommon, and so we build these things because they can see the difference of who we are versus the others that they've dealt with before. Which is all a part of communication, right? And if you're going to do all these things, then you also need to be very decisive, right? When you're decisive, you work out ways to simplify how things are done. It doesn't matter if you make a good or bad decision. There's technically no such thing. It may mean that you make a decision this particular way, but it doesn't get the result you're after, which means you can cut that off earlier, right? And you've saved time by making the decision that you've got to go this way. Okay, it's the wrong way. Stop doing that. Let's go back over here where we're going to go before, and we'll go that way. Make that work, right? Rather than sitting going, "Oh, should I not, or whatever, what do you want to do, like survey says fucking bullshit, right? Don't do that. Have an idea as to a couple of choices and stuff that you're choosing between, and just choose one, alright? And it's going to save you a whole heap of problems, and then if it does go wrong, just get into the practice of owning it. Say, okay, that was my decision, my fuck up. Like this morning, I discovered that I left the tap on out the front from watering a veggie patch last night when I came back from swimming, and it's like, well, I thought I was only going to leave it on for an hour, and I left it on all night. So like now half the front yard's a puddle, but I own that. That's my fault, my fuck up. You know, it doesn't cost anything. It actually gives you more credibility to say that you made a mistake and you're willing to like fix it. You know, which in this case is just turning the tap off and owning it. You know, at least I don't have to water the garden for the next couple of days because it's flooded out there for a bit. But my point here is that own it and you get more credibility. If you try to blame others for fuck ups like that, or it's this person's fault, or I got distracted by this person, or what have you, right? Then you actually lose credibility. Right? There's a story of one of my mentors was telling me about his mentors, and his mentor had all this 20 years worth of credibility and everything and stuff. The whole team was supporting him and everything. And then on this particular day, he started blaming everyone else, and in one moment lost all the credibility he'd built up for 20 years because of what came out of his mouth. You know? Don't want to see that happen to you guys. I want to see you build credibility. And the way you do that is if you make a mistake, you own it. Something goes wrong, you own it. A friend of mine, I was teaching how to drive several years ago. And for those who know what a unicorn is, I was teaching this person, and she was doing really well, and she kept on trying to compare her driving experience to mine. She was just learning. And she's like, well, why can't I drive like Sean does? Well, Sean's been driving for 26 years at that particular point. She was saying that, like, she was having a conversation with Kelly. Right? She's having a conversation with Kelly about how, like, why can't I drive like Sean does? And Kelly's trying to explain to her, look, Sean's been driving for 26 years. Yes, he can teach you from all of his experience, but that doesn't mean you're going to have all of his experience just because he taught you. You need to practice it, you know? And then it came to she finally got her P's, and I lent her my car so that she could drive to Mildura, and knowing full well that, you know, but no one else is going to offer that experience. Anyway, so she took off with Kelly and her other boyfriend at the time, and they were driving around Mildura, and she backs into a ute, smashing the boot window of the car, and a bit of the boot or something like dented. And she's like freaking out, trying to work out what the hell to tell me, kind of thing. And Kelly's trying to explain to her, no, you don't make shit up. You just tell Sean what happened. He's only going to be pissed off if you try to hide it. And she goes, what do you mean? So, well, you tell him exactly what happened. No embellishment, no exaggeration. Just tell him exactly what happened and that you're willing to repair it and whatever. You know, because you're just trying to come up with all these stories of, oh, maybe if I could just ask to borrow the car for an extra day, that I can get it repaired and you won't even notice, and those types of things. You know, and Kelly's like, so no, you will just tell him what happened, and tomorrow it will be repaired, or the next day it will be repaired, and everything will be fine. But if you try to hide it, you know, you try to fuck around, then he'll be mad because you're trying to hide it. You're trying to deceive. You're trying to lie. You know? He wants to be surrounded by people that are honest, that are accountable. Right? That take responsibility for their actions and those types of things. And she finally did the right thing, and it was quite funny because at the time I was working down the road here and stuff for these very horrible people. And I had just had a meeting with them and things, and after trying to smooth it all over and, you know, fix up the things that they said I was doing wrong, Anyway, so came out of there, and the arrangement was that she was going to, like, this friend of ours and stuff was going to pick me up from work and drive me home and stuff at the end of the shift. And then she found out that, because she also worked at that same place, she found out that I'd just come out of a meeting with the bosses there, and she was like, Sean, I have some really bad news, and it's really terrible timing because you just had a meeting with them. So that's okay. We'll go home to my place and we'll have a coffee and that, and we'll talk. And she goes, yeah, but, and I said, no, I've just had a really bad meeting. I would like to wind down from that meeting, and as soon as we get home and stuff, we can talk. We just sit down. I just want to sit down, have a coffee, and we'll talk. She was like, I said, look, I just told her, look, the only way I'm going to get mad right this second is if you delay me getting my coffee, because I really needed a coffee at that particular time. Anyway, so we got home and stuff. I saw the damage to the back of the car and stuff, and didn't say anything. Just got in the car and let her drive me home because that was the arrangement. And she's like, I'm really sorry. So I was like, that's all right. Just wait until we get home. We'll talk about it then. And once I sat down, had me a coffee, and at that time I was still smoking, sat down and let her tell me the story. Okay, what happened? And she told me the story, and she's like, really, really, really sorry, and this happened, and stuff, and like, and but I found someone that's going to replace it and stuff, and I'm going to get that sorted tomorrow. If I can just borrow the car back tomorrow, and I'll get it fixed and that sort of stuff. I was like, okay, no worries. And she's like, you're not mad? I said, no, that's what happened, isn't it? She goes, yeah, but I thought you'd yell. So why would I yell? You're being honest. You're telling me exactly what happened. That's what I want. I want people around me that tell me exactly what happened. And you want that in your companies and your business and your network as well. You want people to be able to tell you exactly what happened. The second that they start blaming everyone around you, it's their fault, it's that fault, it's the economy's fault, it's COVID's fault, it's fucking this fault, that fault, whatever. Just get rid of them. Right? Either have a serious fucking talk with them and saying, look, you need to be accountable for your actions. If you can't be, right, then you're out, kind of thing. But like, a lot of the time it's just out because they're not really responsible. If they're going to hide something or they're going to blame everything on someone else, right, then, well, what else are they going to hide? So, that is the beginnings of the things. Oh, and you also need to set deadlines. And on the topic of deadlines, I'm changing my prices at the end of today. I have extended them as much as I can, so they'll be going up. But I'm wondering if I should make a package that's smaller, perhaps. I don't know. So I'm just working with that. I'm doing the numbers at the moment, and at the end of the day I'll come to a decision. But either way, the prices on my things are changing, except for the mastermind courses, which is no more anxiousness and no more toxic relationships and no more toxic business. Those courses and stuff will remain at the price. And yeah, but otherwise, over the week I will go over more of this. I will go a little bit more at the moment. So when you do your goal setting, the bigger the goal, there are particular plateau points that you're going to reach. Okay, where if it's a 12-month goal, then you need to make the decision that you're going to stick with it for 12 months. So if it's a 90-day goal, but you want to give yourself 12 months for it to work because you're not sure if it will, then you stick with it for the 12 months. Be decisive, right? Because it might be a case of you get to month 11 before the real success comes in. And things like that. But you need to be decisive and setting your targets and understanding that the bigger the goal, the longer it's going to take, and you're going to have plateau points of particular results. You're going to get to a point at the 12-month point where it'll kind of like either be the acceleration point or it'll be the drop-off point. At 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. Okay? The plateau points in money are getting past the 100 grand point to the first million, then the first million to the first 5, Then the next plateau point is the number 10, and then the next plateau point there is 50, and then the next plateau point is 100 million, and then the next plateau point from there is 250 million, and the next plateau point from there is 500, and then a billion. Right? And then from a billion, it's 2, and then 3, and then like 10, 20, 30, etc. and stuff. But not many of you will at this stage be aiming for those types of numbers, but that's where the plateau points are. So, yeah. Alright, so I'll go into more of this during the week and expand on them in shorter doses, but I wanted to give you a decent overview on what to expect and why why I do things the way I do them, because everyone's results are going to be different because they are custom to you. All right. There's one particular person, like one particular couple that's wanting to focus more on the property side of things. There's a couple of you trying to there's a few of you actually trying to focus more on the anxiety and getting better quality sleep. There's a few of you that are trying to work on a few other things, right? But like, I'm not going to go further into those details because I'm not going to mention names or anything like that. But like, so everyone's results are custom to you. However, the tools required are still a lot the same. Sometimes they might be in a different order. So going through the list of 100 first is still paramount for everyone. Going through then doing either the causes list or the forgiveness letters, I can switch those out either way because some people actually need the forgiveness letters earlier than they need the causes list, right? And vice versa. One of my friends that I've made over the last year from one of the other coaching groups I'm in and stuff from one of my mentors, I tasked her with the forgiveness letters and has cleared out a lot of the old tears and the hurts and the upsets and done amazing things in the last couple of months since then. So, yeah, as I said, the results are custom to yourself, you know. So it's up to you to really be more honest with yourself and adding to these lists of 100 as to what you really would like for you. Okay, it's not about me looking at the list even. That's what the lists of 10 are for, you know, where you can just pull 10 out that you would like to share. Okay. And in that regard, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Sydney time, is our group coaching session. Please, I would love more of you to start attending that so I can help more of you, and we can progress from there. Anyway, in the meantime, I will see you all tomorrow, and I will expand on more of this over the next couple of days. Okay? Bye-bye.